Hi there, these comments are for Daniel. This is Michael. Thank you for completing. It looks like an integrated speaking practice test number 4. So this is a listening, speaking, academic, and you listen to a lecture about glaciers, and particularly about how glaciers form. Okay, let's listen to your practice test now. And as you know, I am from bettertoeflscores.com. And I'm getting the rubrics for the integrated. This is what the TOEFL uses to grade your integrated speaking task. Here we go.
According to the lecture, a glacier is formed in polar areas and in high mountains.
Okay, you want to say glaciers. You're having a little bit of trouble with that word.
According to the lecture, a glacier is formed in polar areas and in high mountains.
I'd probably, instead of saying a glacier, just say glaciers are formed
with a surface that is less than 30 degrees of inclination. On the contrary, the snow could fall in the way of avalanches. In these conditions, the snow starts to accumulate when it falls in a layer over a layer.
You want to say layer after layer. It accumulates layer by layer.
And in this form,
no, it might be useful here because there's 4 or 5 steps. You can use words like first, second, third.
The ice start to accumulate and being compressed.
Say ice,
forming grains that are getting larger every time, forming a solid compact mass that is increasing density.
I would put that increases in density, not that is increasing.
After 2 weeks,
let me check your language use on that
compress
again.
It, forming grains that are getting larger every time,
okay.
Forming a solid compact mass that is increasing density. After 2 winters, this mass is about half density of water.
I would say this is about half as dense as water, or it has half the density as water. You could probably say it like that too.
This process takes a long time, more than 100 years.
Okay.
After this time, the glacier is so heavy that
you might say finally
it starts to moving because of the gravity force.
Good. It begins moving downhill because of the forces of gravity. Okay, I'm thinking probably around 2.5, so you had considerable delivery and language use issues. Let me listen to it one more time.
According
I'll give
to
you a
the
final
lecture,
estimate.
A glacier is formed in polar areas and in high mountains, with a surface that is less than 30 degrees of inclination. On the contrary, the snow could fall in the way of avalanches. In these conditions, the snow starts to accumulate when it falls in a layer over a layer, and in this form, the ice starts to accumulate and being compressed, forming grains that are getting larger every time, forming a solid compact mass that is increasing density. After 2 winters, this mass is about half density of water. This process takes...
That was the biggest language use problem there, about half density. You could say it's about half as dense as water, or it has half the density of water.
It's a long time, more than 100 years. After this time, the glacier is so heavy that it starts to moving because of the gravity force.
Okay. So I think in this one, I think my score here is pretty accurate. So I'm looking at the integrated speaking rubrics in the 2 areas. So I'm looking at a few things here. So we have speech may not be sustained at a consistent level throughout. Problems with intelligibility. You have problems with pronunciation. Some words, for example, layer. You have problems varying your tone, and you have some awkward pauses and hesitations in there. I think with your language use, you have some limitations in how you can re-explain the most important points from that lecture there. So that's also 2. I think for the most part, you had a pretty complete and accurate explanation of the information. I think you just had some problems with your language use in terms of communicating the ideas. So based on the actual rubrics, I'm going to put you at about 18 points out of 30 on this practice test. So the next thing is you want to start doing maybe 1 hour, one private lesson a week. That at this point, I have a pretty good schedule for the next week, the next 2 weeks. So you can pick a day that you think works for you, and then you can ask me if the time works. So we probably have different time zones, I'm guessing. So Monday through Friday is okay right now. Let me know what day works for you, then we can decide on a time and we can have our lessons. Okay, thank you.